Giving a status update on Bobby Roode in WWE, Ringside News wrote that Bobby Roode's last WWE match was at a house show at the Amarillo Civic Center in Amarillo, Texas on June 25th, 2022. Omos beat him in that singles match, and fans haven't seen him wrestle since. He needed neck surgery, but he found a new place in WWE in the process. Ringside News reached out to inquire about Bobby Roode's current status. We have been able to confirm that he is a producer now, and he is no longer an active competitor. With Jon Moxley suffering an injury in AEW, it seems he was not cleared in time to compete for a recent indie event, as Ringside News wrote. Jon Moxley was riding a wave of momentum when he won the AEW International title. Then he lost it suddenly as Phoenix pinned him in impromptu fashion following Moxley's concussion at Dynamite Grand Slam on September 20th. It appears that Moxley isn't 100% yet. Pro wrestling fans thought it was interesting that Jon Moxley was booked for a Pro Wrestling Revolver event in spite of his injury hiatus. He has not received medical clearance to return to AEW as far as we know, because he must pass certain protocols for that to happen. Jon Moxley couldn't participate in a Wrestling Revolver match on Sunday night, where he was scheduled to compete against Gringo Loco in a lucha street fight. It appears that he still has some time left before he is cleared to compete. At the Revolver Redemption event in Dayton, Ohio, former WWE wrestler Rich Swann stepped in as a replacement for the top AEW star. Moxley did make an appearance to inform the audience that medical professionals had advised against him wrestling on the show. Ultimately, Loco emerged victorious against Rich Swann in the match. Following the bout, Gringo Loco accused Moxley of being unwilling to face him, hinting at a potential future matchup between them. With NXT and AEW Dynamite set to go head-to-head tonight, Adam Copeland, who will be having his first AEW match, said this about the situation on the Masked Man show. "Who cares? I'm only this guy, I'm only this guy. This is awesome. How can you not enjoy the fact that both shows are trying to load up and trying to put the best show on imaginable? That's all I really care about. I'll try to make sure that my part of the show is all killer, no filler. That's my only job. I'm sure both will get watched when it's all said and done with DVR and however else it gets computed, since everything with ratings is so antiquated. It's fun. I remember flipping back and forth between Nitro and Raw. That's kind of what this is. I don't see that as a bad thing at all. I think it's great. The performers themselves, there is none of this weird tribalism. Within any industry, sure, there is competition, but I'm happy for those guys and they're happy for us. When there are choices and there is another company that can push the other company, that's when you get the best stuff." Touching on getting back in the ring despite having his retirement bout last year, the Nature Boy Ric Flair told Chris Van Vliet, "I want to wrestle again right now." Isn't it crazy? I feel like because Ricky Morton, the guy that I should have chosen for my last match, would have been great. Ricky Morton is still wrestling. You know what the best thing for me about it was? Is I forced myself to really get in shape. I've heard this from guys over the years, and when they were older, I was like in my prime. The older guys would say, "Hey man, I'm tired of working out." And there gets a time when you just get bored working out. You don't have a goal. I mean, they gave me a goal and I just attacked it. I didn't stop drinking or anything, but I was training, literally training 3 hours a day, 5 days a week in the ring, or I was doing the sled, the ropes. Yeah, I got my bench press up for 2 1/4. I mean, so from being dead to all that was pretty cool. For an update on Jade Cargill following her appearance on NXT last night, PW Insider reported that Jade Cargill is back at the WWE Performance Center training today. mentioning if we will be seeing John Cena at the upcoming WWE Premium Live event. It was said that Ringside News was able to confirm with a tenured member of the WWE creative team that John Cena is booked to wrestle at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. He is not wrestling Roman Reigns, but he will be on the card. Ringside News exclusively reported John Cena started talking to WWE about a return as soon as the Screen Actors Guild and American Federation of Television and Radio Artists strike started. They were were able to work something out, and Cena was soon booked for 2 months worth of television appearances. John Cena admitted that he will leave WWE once the strike is over. The Writers Guild was able to figure things out, but the Screen Actors Guild is still working on their deal. Speaking of the Crown Jewel event, this was said regarding Brock Lesnar making an appearance on the show. Ringside News reached out to confirm Brock Lesnar's status for WWE Crown Jewel on November 4th. We were told that the Beast Incarnate is not booked for the Saudi Arabian event. Brock Lesnar's last match was against Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. It was reported after that he would be back, and then Ringside News exclusively reported more details about the situation. It appears that break for the Beast Incarnate is going to continue. Since WWE has no December premium live event, that only leaves Survivor Series as the last big show of 2023 for Brock Lesnar's possible appearance. We have not been able to confirm that Lesnar will miss Survivor Series, but the first report of his hiatus was that he would take the rest of 2023 off. On Talk Is Jericho, Adam Copeland discussed the initial booking plan for the Judgment Day, saying, "When we were doing Judgment Day, the plan was that Balor joins and about a year later they all turn on me. Well, then I got to Hell in a Cell, and it was like, no, we're changing everything and we're speeding up that year-long process, and he's joining tomorrow and turning tomorrow. And it was just starting to find some legs, but it was going to be swimming upstream with me in it. It really was. I started to have that realization. It's like, I don't think they're going to get to where they need to get to with me in this thing. People know the real story, and that was an instance where I did try and flip everything, change it all overnight, cut my hair off, change the music, and start coming out in suits. I tried changing everything, and I realized at this stage it's not what they want, at least for me. They wanted to be able to cheer for this guy that they didn't get for 9 years. Reflecting on not having his previous in-ring name from WWE now that he is in AEW, Adam Copeland told Talk Is Jericho, "To me, Edge was always a character. Like, even in this last run, it was basically me out there. And I mean, I'd even say in promos, this is pretty much Adam at this stage. Edge was just a name. It's odd, I guess, to kind of put that skin on over the years. But again, with this last round, I don't feel like it really was. It really just felt like everyone knows my story. Everyone knows the real story behind it, which is all Adam. So that kind of, like all of the real rated R stuff, that kind of gets left behind. Now, it's just the person behind the performer that's almost front and center, and that had never been the case before. But it was also kind of freeing because it wasn't trapped within a character now, and that's what it feels like over here. It feels like just the possibilities are wide open, and that's fun. You know, there are so many different paths we can go, and when I'm reading a book, right, I love when I don't know where it's going to go, and there's a bunch of different ways it could go, and you start to guess, okay, where are they going? Where's the writer going to take this? That, to me, is really fun, and I feel like we have that opportunity here. So I have a long game idea, and I can't wait for it. But all of this stuff sets that up. But even in thinking about it, I always think of the package. So let's give them some moments for the package. And what are those moments? Yeah, they're just little seeds, and we will water them as we go, and when the time's right, then we really water them, and now, okay, that's the direction we're going. Talking to Smooth Vega, Tessa Blanchard mentioned everything she has gone through in pro wrestling over the years, seemingly referring to her being accused of racism and having issues in women's locker rooms. Tessa said, "I look back at it thinking back now because I've grown a lot from everything that I've been through over the past 3 years because it's been tough. It's like mentally it was challenging, but nothing is ever going to be thrown at me that I'm not strong enough to handle. God, this life, they're going to throw things at me that I'm strong enough to handle. There's going to be a lot of trials and tribulations, but I've got to navigate my way mentally, physically, emotionally to get through it and grow from it, right? Every person that you meet, every friendship, every relationship, every circumstance, you should be able to take something and learn from it for whatever's next in life." Going over a possible spoiler for the War Games match at the upcoming WWE Premium Live event, it was noted that Fightful Select has confirmed that as of this week, War Games was being planned for WWE Survivor Series. 2022 saw the first ever main roster WWE War Games match in Boston, with both men's and women's matches taking place. So far, we've heard that a men's match is on the table and haven't heard one way or another. It was heavily implied Judgment Day would be a part of the match, but the details around that are far from confirmed. As Jack Perry would be suspended from AEW following his fight with CM Punk at the All In London event, an update was given on his status by Mike Johnson of PW Insider. After speaking to some people, the belief of those who I have spoken to is that he is no longer on an indefinite suspension, but the company is in no rush to bring him back. The belief among the people I have spoken to is that the longer he is away, the longer it makes distance between himself and the incident with CM Punk. He had also just wrapped up that angle with Hook, so there is no rush to bring him back. Touching on a potential return for him to WWE, the Nature Boy Ric Flair told Chris Van Vliet, "It's fine, I don't work for them. I mean, I'm always going to be indebted and be thankful for the relationship over the years, but when you work with them, you're pretty much locked up to, to anything, and they have a really tough, enforceable contract, so I wouldn't be able to do the marijuana. I certainly wouldn't be able to have the energy drink unless I gave them 50% of it or something like that. I mean, and in all fairness, I don't like that, but I can understand. They're going to give you the TV time and help give you the opportunity for yourself to become a star. If you have that star quality, then they deserve to get a part of the money. I understand it. I don't like it, but it's only fair, and I've seen a lot worse situations for people." Staying on the topic of comebacks, Trish Stratus explained what it would take to see her have another run for WWE, noting during a Q&A at the Big Texas Comic-Con. But again, I've been asked by people here, are you coming back? Do you want to do another run? But this is the thing. I'm like, the boxes it has to check. One is the creative. What is the creative? What am I going to come back and do? Is it going to check these boxes? So I always turn it back to people and go, I might go back, but who should I face? Tell me, I want to know. In an update on the rumors and reports of CM Punk having talks with WWE to make a return to the company, Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that they turned him down. He wanted to go there, and the decision was a no. It can always change, and it was brought up to me, there's no such thing as no forever when it comes to WWE, but it's no for now. That was the decision that was made. It's Vince's decision. Vince, Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, and obviously they decided that the negatives outweighed the positives. During that same interview, Ari Emanuel said this about the TV rights deals coming up, as he noted, so you cannot undervalue the WWE and UFC for the following reasons. One, we do not have a season. One of the biggest issues that will happen with SMODs and networks is churn. We're 52 weeks a year, right? And we're flexible. You want us Thursday night? You want us Tuesday night? I don't have any of those scheduling issues and that churn issue because we're the full year. It's so much different than any other sport because then people churn out. That's one of the issues with sports. Not in a bad way, and then the package is over and then you leave. We do not have that. Our fans are loyal, they stick around, and they move. Touching on potentially giving advice to WWE talent despite his move to AEW, Adam Copeland told the Masked Man Show, generally what I'll do if it's something that I saw, I'm like, that's a good point that I can tell them. Usually I'll go back and rewatch everything without like talking to Eddie Kingston while we're watching. Usually I'll sit home and properly watch something before I really dive into it because I don't want to half-ass it. I want to make sure that I'm telling points that I saw and felt and take it for what it's worth. It's not one of those guys that's like, listen to what I say, damn it. You have to have that filter as to who you trust as a person you go in terms of advice. I've always said I'm wide open to anybody, and that still holds true to talent in WWE, and they know that. On his Click This podcast, Kevin Nash said this about AEW's ability to compete with WWE. They're so good at packages, like the Peacock thing they did on Cody. If they want to get you over, they can make it feel like a 30 for 30 ESPN special. They can also make it feel like what this guy is doing is absolutely legitimate. They have that ability. To me, it's just like AEW is the Staples Center. It's a new arena, and it's got all the bells and whistles, but all of a sudden, WWE just decides we're going to do our shows in the Sphere. We're just going to do our show in the Sphere now. That's just the way it is. It's always going to be that way. You're never going to compete with that, especially with 17 people in the staff. As AEW President Tony Khan took shots at WWE and specifically The Undertaker and John Cena for being on NXT and not getting a million views, the Wrestling Observer newsletter said, Khan noted that the no million tweet was a response to the endless people who tweeted him every Thursday after the show does usually the top 1 or 2 numbers of the previous night, but that's considered bad because they don't hit 1 million viewers. There was also a strategic message in posting in the sense that 1 million post came at the same time he released the Jay White vs. Penta match for next week, with the idea that the post would lead to more engagement for the announcement of that match. Those in WWE did contact us very quickly after that post, with the idea that it was like they saw it as a declaration of war by still discussing the subject. Of course, that declaration really dates back to January 2019. Giving an update on the lawsuit against WWE over racial discrimination, which was brought forward by a former member of the creative team, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, noted former WWE writer Brittany Abrams' racial discrimination and wrongful termination lawsuit against WWE has been voluntarily dismissed. Abrams in August voluntarily dismissed the case against named defendants including Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and members of the WWE creative team, but the complaint against the company remained until today. The dismissal is with prejudice, meaning the case can't be tried again in the same court. Noting the creative situation at WWE without Vince McMahon being a part of the process, the Wrestling Observer newsletter stated, regarding the creative process, right now Paul Levesque is the person in charge. He's the one making all of the key decisions. Bruce Pritchard is a conduit between creative talent relations and talent services. Ed Koski is the operations person who keeps the scripts flowing. At the moment, Vince McMahon is out of the creative process, but it was stressed to me the term "at the moment." McMahon is still the person in charge of the company with the most power, but Levesque is running creative and Nick Khan is making the business moves. When it comes to details on WWE's decision to move Kevin Owens to SmackDown, it was said that Ringside News reached out to a tenured member of the creative team to ask about how long those plans for Kevin Owens on SmackDown. We were told that this has been the plan all along. Kevin Owens was the one we had in mind when the Jey Uso trade was announced. Now Owens is back on SmackDown without Sami Zayn this time around. He will have to do his own thing, but he's also used to that at this point. Asked if fans would see her make a return to pro wrestling, Lacy Evans told the Road Trip After Hours podcast, "I'm not going to say no, but God help the son of a gun I get my hands on if I do." Evans then said this about AEW schedule, "Absolutely, I'm mean as hell. I'm one mean son of a gun. That was probably my fault at requesting my release. There are no hard feelings at WWE. It's great. That lifestyle is for that. When they hold that title above their head, that's what makes them feel significant or feel like they've accomplished something. Me being able to make my kids food or cook my old man, that to me is worth all the weight in gold." And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.